This is a presentation of the Sports Source Digital Network, presented by Hearthside Bank.
You like numbers, and we've got plenty of them this week in another edition of Action right here on the Sports Source Digital Network. Be sure you give us the thumbs up for the like. Hit us in the comment section and ring the bell, subscribe, so anytime the Sports Source Digital Network has more content, it goes right to your phone computer. Tyler Ivens alongside Chuck Cavalaris. It's the new school and the old school. We love looking ahead to Tennessee's football season. And here comes a 2023 storyline in the 2025 season. Chuck, what I mean, three-headed monster.
Yes.
Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, Dylan Sampson. Dylan Sampson, arguably the most productive season for a running back in Tennessee history in 24. Now we're going back 25 storyline from 23. This year, you're looking at DeSean Bishop, local product. Peyton Lewis, Star Thomas, transfer portal from Duke. Why are we not talking enough about the running back room that could be talking about divvying up so many different carries?
Yeah, I guess they're still waiting and hoping that somebody kind of emerges from that at a certain point. Because Heupel's approach has been to distribute the carries 40%, 40%, 20%. That's in theory. I think what happens in reality is who has the hot hand, who does not put the ball on the ground. So when you're looking at this group, I think they're hoping DeSean Bishop, being that he has had the most carries from last year. Experience. He's the most, to me, like Dylan Sampson. But the guy I would look for would be Peyton Lewis.
Yes.
Because I think he is potentially the most special of the group for what this offense tries to accomplish.
You know, it's so funny. Last week we talked a lot about Joey Aguilar, and I'm sure this week across the YouTubes and the different social medias, Joey Aguilar film has been viewed. This week for me, I watched a lot of Star Thomas Duke.
Yes.
This is a guy who, if put on a little extra weight, could be able to beat up a lot of those tackles, the first contacts behind the line of scrimmage. I'm agreeing with you in the order right now, but I want to take a comment you made last week. Thanks to John Pennington for also bringing the numbers to the table. You said, but Tyler, this is a running team. Josh Heupel wants to dictate things with the running game. So looking at some of the numbers since Josh Heupel's been here in his 4 seasons on Rocky Top, Josh Heupel's offense has rushed for at least 199 yards per game in each season. So if you break down the averages, you look in 2021, it's over 217, that nugget over 2022, and then in 23 and 24, he ends up leading the conference total rushing yards. So I'm going to ask you right out of the gate, we'll get right into the teeth of it. Where should the average rushing yards per game be set for 2025 if we were doing an over-under?
Yeah, I know if you've led the SEC in rushing the past 2 seasons, last year we see, just right at 226 yards a game.
Right.
You've lost the best running back in school history. Mm-hmm. You pretty much wore him out with all of the carries. I'm going to definitely go under the 226. Mm-hmm. I was looking at like 215-ish. 210, 215.
That's funny because in my mind, I had a number, and we started this segment and this question talking about how they were producing in 2023.
Right.
Small, Wright, and Sampson. So I thought to myself, if you get anything similar to what this year's trio of Thomas, Lewis, and Bishop could get you, you're probably looking at similar numbers. Your final number was in the 210, 215 range. I'm right there with Chuck right out of the gate. 214 came to mind because of that whole breakdown, that 40-40-20 production that you were talking about.
And real quick, the wild card in all of this, if you look at Tennessee's running back room, I don't think you have one player that would rank in the top 12 in the SEC. As a group, I think they rank top 5. So we'll see how that plays out. I really don't think production-wise you have a top 10, top 12 top back right now. Does that change with an offensive line with so many changes?
Does Star Thomas come to the University of Tennessee? You can't speak on Star Thomas's behalf, but let's just have this question. Does he make the trip west to Knoxville if he doesn't think that there's going to be legitimate playing time waiting for him?
No, absolutely not.
So that's why I have to figure he's going to factor in, even though second year, a lot of these guys, third year for some in the Josh Heupel system, you're probably going to give them a little bit of the leg up.
Right.
No pun intended. All right, I want to look inside these numbers because I want to bring Joey Aguilar back into the conversation.
Okay.
And all week long, whenever he was making trips on the caravan stop, the Big Orange Caravan Stop, whatever they're calling it now these days, he mentioned it in Memphis. He mentioned it again in Nashville. Josh Heupel, when asked about the new addition from UCLA App State, said, well, he extends plays. He's able to make plays with his legs. Since arriving at Tennessee, Josh Heupel's quarterbacks have rushed for the following. Iamaleava had himself a nice little showing with 358 yards. Hooker in 2 seasons combined for just over 1,000, and Joe Milton was just short of the 300 mark. So I'm going to ask you both attempts and rushing yard over-unders. I just set the last number at 214.5. We're talking quarterback. So if Merklinger takes over, maybe a sprinkle of a little McIntyre. Right. We're talking about all possibilities.
Right.
Chuck Cavalaris, where should the total rush attempts and rushing yardage over-unders be set for Tennessee in 2025 for the quarterback position?
Well, my eyes kind of went to the numbers for 2022 with Hooker. And we're talking about sometimes you're going to be scrambling, right? Sometimes you're going to be maybe trying to see something and take what you can. We know Joe Milton didn't particularly care to run, unless he was able to run over a cornerback.
Right.
I'm going to look at those numbers in 2022, 104 carries, 430 yards, and 5 touchdowns. I think if you can approach that and fill that kind of role, that's when this offense was really clicking, right? So that's what I would look at.
I'm sitting here, and give me your number one more time.
This what I'm looking at. Well, Hook 104.
Okay. 5
touchdowns.
And your total rushing yards?
Probably going to be in that same. I think it may be a little bit more. 430, 435, a little bit higher, maybe.
Okay. So I'm going to agree with you near the attempts. I believe that it should be near 100, especially when you take in everything that comes into consideration with sacks, kneel downs. Those attempts are going to end up adding up. That's the beauty of having future plays like this.
Right.
I'm going to end up taking the rushing total at 636, and I know immediately if somebody sees us push this at the Tyler and Chuck Sportsbook, they're hammering the under.
Right.
So here's the reason why I'm going to bring this into the fold. I think if, in fact, this year, Joey Aguilar's arm strength, which many people are already starting to criticize and question, on top of the running game that you already know that are going to be built for more speed than it will be for comfort, I think this year there are going to be particular games that Joey Aguilar is going to have to use his legs more than he is going to use his arms. So I'm going to set this number high, knowing that you, in this hypothetical sports book, would probably be pounding the under. But I bet when it's all said and done, especially with garbage time numbers, we're still hovering around the 590, 600 mark. Question to me is how many sacks are we going to talk about the quarterback taking this year? And that's going to drop this number.
That's exactly where I was going with basically a brand new offensive line, the pass protection, and that's going to bring it down. I'll put $100 on the under 636.5.
I think I just gave you a free $100 right there.
Thank you.
Advent Electric has been providing high-quality electrical contractor solutions for 46 years. From 24/7 emergency electrical services to providing skilled residential and commercial electrical contractors and everything in between. Our expert certified electricians are equipped to help you no matter the size or complexity. Advent Electric, 865-588-0631.
And you know we're going to save the best prop bet for the Tennessee running back rooms for the absolute last part of today's action. All right, Chuck, we already go back to the 2023 numbers again. And to dive in even deeper, for those of you at home who are like, well, I need to Google what the 23 numbers were. I already got you covered. In 2023, the running back room of Jalen Wright, Dylan Sampson, and Jabari Small broke down like this. So get your handy-dandy notepad out. Jalen Wright rushed 137 times during that 2023 season. Dylan Sampson, believe it or not, was the silver medalist with 106. And then Jabari Small came in at third with 95 carries. So you're seeing a little bit of the splits there. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what you're working with here. Chuck, I want to set the over-under rushing attempts for whomever running back one is going to be at the end of the season for Tennessee football. When it's all said and done, who's it going to be? You got yourself a little bit of an idea, a barometer, if you will. Can I get a name? And then give me where you are when it comes to setting the total carries for who that might be.
Well, I tell you what, this is one I think that's really tough to predict because we know the total carries is going to be way under what Dylan Sampson was last year because it shouldn't have been anywhere close to that 258 to me. The most before that would have been like 140, 150. You know, we haven't seen Star Thomas, so it's tough to say he's going to be the guy just yet, right?
Yeah.
I've already said I think the guy with the most talent, if you were going to line up, is going to be Peyton Lewis.
Okay.
So I'm going with Peyton Lewis. The number of carries is what you want next. I hope he can hold up. I mean, that's the injury factor that concerns me. I'm going to go 142.
Okay. I'm glad that you went high, because that means we can meet in the middle somewhere. I'm going to say 127.5 for this reason and this reason only. Star Thomas is the biggest wild card.
Right. I mean,
Star Thomas is the biggest wild card out of all this. If, in fact, Star Thomas does put on the weight during the offseason like so many people expect that he's going to do, if he has that tear-away speed, there are going to be a lot of times where this is what I expect to happen. How many times did Jalen Wright, Chuck Cavalaris, break off a big 67, 70-yard touchdown run or a rush, and then he would get tackled on the 8, and everyone's like, touchdown vultures, touchdown vultures. Are we going to see Star Thomas as the bruiser who's going to start touchdown vulturing a lot of these? How many times is DeSean Bishop going to be allowed to finish off his own carries? I think when it's all said and done, the similarities of what we saw in 2023 are going to emerge in 25 again. So I have this number set a touch higher than normal, meet in the middle depending on injuries and who's allowed to finish off their long runs. Right. I think we're going to see this somewhere in the middle in the 132, 133 range. So the fact that you've sat one side of the sandwich and then I came back in on the other side, I think this is the best number we've had today. Spot on the first one, little lopsided on the second one. We're going to meet in the middle here.
This one.
And this is how it usually plays out at number 3. Where did we get it wrong at? Is Star Thomas going to emerge? And here's the thing. Does Peyton Lewis end up being the superstar in that running back room that Chuck Cavalaris believes that he's going to be? What about DeSean Bishop, who's been waiting for his opportunity to be running back 1 here on Rocky Top? Like, comment, subscribe. Let us set the numbers for you as we continue the countdown to August 30th and Tennessee's season opener against Syracuse. Chuck Cavalaris.
Good to see you, buddy.
Tyler Ivens. Action. You can find it right here on the Sports Source Digital Network.